How's it going? So I wanted to make this video because I've been trying to search on YouTube. I found a few videos that were kind of tickling on the point, but I wanted to kind of share my DMT experience. This was a trip I took in 2013 when I was in Southampton studying my PhD, and I'd watched a few videos on how to successfully get as much DMT into your system as possible. So the prevailing method I saw that looked like it was better than doing the 3 tokes on like a crack bowl or a glass bowl. Because I was doing it on my own, I didn't have anyone to kind of guide me through it. So the way I described, or was described to me, was using what's called a lung, which is like basically like a 2-liter bottle of, say, Coca-Cola. Cut the bottom of it off, replace the bottom with, put the DMT crystal in a well in tin foil, put it on the bottom, tape it up, light it, and when there's like really thick white smoke that fills the 2-liter chamber, you undo the top and then you rip it in. Now, I'd had one experience with a girlfriend at the time where I tried to do that. It didn't go properly white, thick smoke. It was kind of still wispy, but it wasn't enough, basically. And I remember lying on the bed, just being a little bit sort of apprehensive. And what I could visualize was energy rain, if you will. Where I turned my head around, I could imagine like a mesh of sort of 3-inch by 3-inch on the ceiling, and from each point of that mesh, dropping vertically down, is like a beaded rope, but it's very kind of somewhat transparent, and I'm seeing the beads rain down. And as I move my head around, nothing, the beads stay falling down. Okay, so this is quite interesting. I look over to my right to see my girlfriend's face, and the rain is just raining off her skin, as in it's pouring all around the contours of her face. So needless to say, it was interesting, but it wasn't anywhere near what I'd thought it was going to be. Some crazy breakthrough. From what I'd read before, it was, or from what I'd seen on YouTube and such, was, you'd blast off, you'd come out of your body, you'd be in another dimension. So as it's kind of scary, apprehensive. Didn't do as much the first time. A few months later, let's say, I was on my own. I tried to arrange with a mate to see if he wanted to babysit in, but he was, I don't know, scared or whatever, I'm not sure, but he didn't want to do it for a while. Every time I'd ask, he didn't want to do it, so I ended up just going, right, bite the bullet, just do it yourself, right? So I did the same thing. Misfired a few times. I was in a small room in the house I was living in, which had 3 other lodgers, all mates of mine. I was up in the living room, small little living room. I prepared, it was late at night, I prepared the lung, as I call it, but I kept getting quite annoyed because it was, I'm not putting enough in, it's not whispering enough. So I just went, do you know what? I had the 1 gram baggie. I was trying to measure it out, like eyeballing sort of small amounts in. I just ended up going, right, tip it in, just get it done, right? Lit it up, and if you tried it, it's kind of quite a harsh. The flavor and the smell kind of reminds me of brand new shoes for some reason. It's very kind of plasticky. Also, I've had remnants of afterwards smelling in certain bushes. I'm like, oh, that smells a bit like DMT, but it is very distinct, I would say, especially in its concentrated crystallized form. So put that into the well, sealed it up well, sealed it properly. So I got the 2-liter bottle of Coke with the bottom cut off. That it's very important to get the sort of well in the depression in the tin foil, so that as you heat it up, it does liquefy, and it needs to be collected in that bit. So you're not trailing it around everywhere, because that's something else. It was quite hard to put this on, maintain the well, tape it up. I managed to do it, and like I said, here goes nothing. Blow out. I got it to the point where it was thick, white, like milk, full, 2 liters full. Breathe out, take a massive rip in, and I decided hold it for as long as you can, because that way it gets in, it's in, right? So I stand up as I'm holding my breath in. I walk over to the light switch to turn the light off. I thought maybe it would be better in the dark. As I'm doing that, I thought, no, maybe it's not actually. But I'm stood up at this point, almost touching. I can see that there's something going on with my vision for sure, starting to trip. But I thought, right, hold. And as you hold your breath, you get to that point where it kind of becomes a little bit painful. The pain was there, and then all of a sudden, woomph, it goes. The pain just evaporated. I couldn't feel it anymore. And I knew that if I don't breathe, I'm going to pass out. So I start hyperventilating, like, as I do that, this face appears near me, and it's not just a face, it's kind of made up of a floating torso, if you will, but it looks very similar to, it's a humanoid person, but everything, I'm not seeing it as you would see me now. I'm seeing it more as like white embers and recirculating white embers, very, very sharp white embers. And it's just made up of many, many thousands of those. And it just gestures like this. I mean, obviously, calm down. Okay, I relax. Okay, don't need to hyperventilate. And I'm watching. This thing goes quickly, something else appears. I then go and stand. I'm stood up the whole way through this. Go and stand in the middle, and I'm just looking at a white wall, but before the white wall, or almost like it's projected onto the white wall. Again, made up of these minute embers of white light. You start seeing things like, I start seeing like it almost like a gestury sort of thing. It comes along, it wants to play around. I'm not in the mood for really playing about. I want to see what's there, because I know, I've heard a lot about it. I want to kind of, okay, I'm not here to laugh and giggle. Let's get through it. And sure enough, it sees I'm not there laughing. It progresses to something else. I've heard many people describe this entity. I'll use the word entity, I suppose. It's something it basically had 2 eyes. That's about as human as it was. It's got 2 eyes, but everything else, like, it's recirculating, as in the embers are flowing around. The face that is in front of me is made up of, at this point, millions of white embers, and it's got features, like I said, it's got 2 eyes. I'm sure maybe more of a form, but I'm looking at 2 eyes. I can lock on at 2 eyes. And it's beautifully sort of, at one, it could be like many different animal life forms all mixed into one. So I've heard people call it an alien. I mean, it could be, an alien could look something like this, or a time slice of it, maybe, but I'm seeing things like octopus, cow, insect, all sorts of things inside of this thing as it recirculates. Now, I realize this kind of entity, at some point it transitions to, and at this time I'm looking up. So it's as if I'm looking through a portal, but it's a soft portal. There's no edges to it, but I know that there's a portal there. And I'm looking, and I'm seeing this figure, and I'm looking up, and this thing's maybe, I'm looking up as if I'm looking at someone that's probably like 7 foot tall. And for some reason I decide, okay, let's try and communicate verbally, right? I say the word what, I was about to say the sentence, what are you? And I say the word what, and instantly this being turned around as if it's going to bugger off. It showed me its shoulder, right? So I just stopped and looked, and it understood. It turned around straight away. It knew. As fast as it turned around, it turned back, as if to say, like, yeah, I'm not going to do that again. I'm not going to talk to you. I'm going to watch, and you're going to look into me. I'm going to look into you. And that's what I did. And I'd say probably for about, I don't know, it feels like a long time, but it's enjoyable. It's like 5 minutes or so. Eventually, I'm looking as best I can, looking directly at this entity. It's looking at me, and I'm just comfortable in the fact that let's see where this goes. Just let's keep going. Let's keep going. Yeah, I'm here. I'm surrendering to it, if you will. And eventually, it, like I said, I can see it gesturing shoulders, like the torso of it, the head, shoulders. It pulls its arms in and points like that, two-handed up. I've spoken to people and told this story to a few people, and not many people get what I instinctively knew what it meant. It points up. I look up. Yeah, I look straight up, and what I'm going to describe to you now took place in 1 second, maybe less. But I've got to break it down into many stages, if you will. I look up, and it's like a white ceiling like I've got here. There's a pinprick of white light. Pinprick of white light. I can see it. And as I've looked up and I've made eye contact with this white light, something else gently, I'll add gently, lifts me from the haunches, from like as if it were belt line. So I'm on tippy toes, and simultaneously pulls my head back, boom, jaw down, head back, jaw down, arms, again, I can feel hands, as it were, gentle, like as if I were to grab myself, gently pull myself out. So my arms are out, I'm stood up, and my head is back, and my mouth is wide open, and that white light came right down into my throat and through my throat, and it felt like it felt like it had size. It was like there was pressure coming down. It was not like an insignificant thing. It comes down and it settles on my heart. Just warmth, settles. And as soon as it's, like I said, it was there, bam, snap, like that, done. And gone. It's gone. And I'm still here, and I'm just looking around thinking, what the flipping hell's just happened? And I think it took quite a while. It took me a long time to realize. I believe it's mostly linked to like a Kundalini style awakening, but top down, not my own produced. It's like a cheat code. Get it, but I can't do it unless I do DMT, or the hope is to eventually learn how to do it myself. I would describe afterwards just being, the whole thing is you understand fundamentally that we, not just humans, but all living things on this planet at least, if not everywhere in the universe, are one. And it's just, we are one. It's just this oneness. It's just unbelievably sort of like obvious. It's not drummed into you. It's like obvious. Yeah, we're obviously one. It's just something that's understood. Yeah, it was. That was the last time I've really, did DMT, it was 7 years ago, I suppose now, yeah, 7, 8 years ago, so I'm 13. It was only about a year ago that I realised that what it was most like described as was a Kundalini awakening, top down. Yeah, so I thought maybe if anyone's had a similar experience, please talk about it. Okay, cool.